The island of misfortune is now Paradise Island, and this is based off Guam. So what I want to do real quick is show you basically bombing points, and we will get out our our Americans, and we will create our custom battle. We're going to have our B-17s. For those of you heavy bomber types, I know you've experienced those situations in which you're up high and you're trying to bomb tanks and they're moving, so you dive down. You do something that isn't how you imagine, well, you know, bombing in a heavy bomber. Let's see. So we will change our team to the Allies. We're readied up and we're gonna start. Yeah, so you'll dive down to try, you know, as a heavy bomber you tend to, I mean, historically you flew in formation and carpet bombed areas or went after strategic targets. Oftentimes they were cities or industrial areas, trying to knock out enemy production of vehicles and arms and munitions and supplies. But in here to date, as so far in War Thunder Beta, you've only really been able to, and I'm going to use the B-25 simply because it's faster. And it looks like I may not have upgraded it. So we're going to take out the B-17, right? I mean, that's not a true heavy bomber. Alright, so basically, you're like, hey, there's 3 airfields. They're not 3 airfields, they are bombing points, and let's look at them. They don't really appear to show up, but there are 3 of them, and they kind of are just these stacked up on the map. When you look, you can see a number of what looks like rectangular indicators blinking. So we are going to go off to our left, and then actually the bombing points seem to be a little behind these medium tank lines. So what I saw on the map, currently there's nothing on the map as far as I can tell that indicates a heavy bombing point. So now granted, you could stay at altitude, but I am going to drop altitude to kind of get a closer look, and it looks like, alright, howitzers, look at that. The howitzers are individually named now, and I imagine that will be rather beneficial once tanks are playable, because there is a significant difference between an AP gun or an anti-tank gun and a howitzer. Howitzers are slower velocity, high explosive shells, whereas AP guns, tank guns, anti-tank guns, fire much higher velocity and armor-piercing shells. So looking on the map, it looks like, oh, that is really cool. Alright, so we're going to get into bombing mode here. I'm going to drop 2,000 pounds. Alright. So let's take a look. What happens to that circle when our bombs hit? Look at that. Those bombs took out half the damage. Now I'm going to fast forward real quick to after I reload and make another pass. Alright, so we're making another pass, and this time we are going to follow our bombs down and kind of get a closer look at this target, which seems to be a military base. You can see little tank traps, trenches, tents, and all kinds of things. So we're bombing what appears to be a Japanese camp, right? So at this point, we'll kind of have to see after, and I'm not sure, since it's a custom game, we won't really see basically the score we would have gotten. But so far what we've seen is this new map, the new bombing points, and the howitzer indications right here. Now, there are already howitzers in the game, and for those of you who've seen my ground forces preview videos, you've seen plenty of them. But now they are individually named. So in arcade, when tanks are made available in arcade, and I even think in historical you would be able to kind of get a feel of what it is at distance. You would realize you could assess the threat of a howitzer versus an anti-tank gun. So now we're going to fly over and take a look at these next two. That one also looks like a base. It seems the three of them are the same, even though that one's kind of over near their airfield. But we'll do another bombing run with our B-17, and look at this. How awesome is this? We have a target. We have multiple targets to go for without having to dive down. Granted, yes, I am below 2,000 meters because I want to get a good eye on the targets, but generally you could be flying up thousands of meters above this, safe and sound, and just raining hell on targets just as you would. And let's take a look at this bomb as it goes down over the new map of Guam, or Paradise Island. Doesn't seem to be very enjoyable for these guys. Look at that. And so, what I can tell, granted this is an arcade mode, and I wonder if the damage models will be, or the amount of bombs it would take to destroy those is different, but it seems like 4,000 pounds can kill off half of it, so you need about 8,000 pounds. And we have more bombs, so now we'll take a look. Look at the level of detail on this airfield. What are those? Medium tanks. I wonder if they're new tanks. Might have to check those out after we drop bombs. Let's get a close-up. Look at this little inlet here. Airfield to our left. Looks like some naval facilities, ship facilities. And a nice little camp. Look at the close-up on these trenches. Tell you what, I'm gonna pillboxes and stuff. Those look awesome. The tank traps, everything. Base is damaged. Alright, so you get the drift. Heavy bombers, rejoice. For patch 1.35 is bringing you some more fun. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Baron, and as always, thank you for watching. I went with default ammunition, which is a shame. But, so, some interesting facts. The first thing, and I covered basically the difference between the MiG-15 and the MiG-15 BIS is firepower. And we have an F-86A. So we do not have the F-86F, and he's going to be going heads up. But basically, I'll talk after we